And everything he was saying really made me think of that picture. Nick, that was absolutely fantastic. I don't know how I'm going to follow that, but I will do my level best. I'm Graham Allen, I'm a local Member of Parliament, and the only reason I'm here is because of my journey in my constituency in Nottingham North. Nottingham North is one of the poorest and low-income places that you're ever likely to come across. And so my journey really starts as a local person representing that constituency. And I want to tell you a little bit about that and tell you about some of the problems and tell you about some of the things we're going to do and are doing about that. But can I firstly say, this is the most fun I've had during a conference that I can ever imagine. If you've been to, the House of Commons or even the Labour Body conference, you'll know exactly what I'm telling you about. It's not exactly a laugh a minute, let alone a permanent smile that I think most people in the room, including myself, have had today. And I think that excitement is one of the most fantastic things about the Imagination Library and why I love it so much and why I want to do everything that I can to help. And I can't let the moment go by as the final speaker without thanking a number of those people. Candida Brudenell, who's done so much, Councillor David Mellon, our friends from across the pond. I do understand their language because I'm married to an American, so if you need any translation, glad to do that. Emma and Kirstine and Sam and Angie and Frank, and just a great team that's backing up what we're trying to do in Nottingham. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to give you 3 simple messages at the very beginning and at the very end. So you might want to just scribble down because the last one needs a bit of scribble. The first one is that you are not alone. And the second one is that we are winning. And the third one is my email address. Because if there's anything in what I say you want to refer, I'm not going to take you all the way through endless documents and statistical stuff, but I can refer you to those things. It's Graham, Graham, Allen, Allen, .mp at parliament.uk. So if you want to get hold of me after today, please do so. So what I want to do is just initially to place what we've heard throughout the day in the broader context of what Nick was doing, never used the words. My mum was a fantastic early intervener, but she used to say a stitch in time saves 9. She wouldn't have known what early intervention was. But don't we all as parents actually intervene at the earliest possible moment? Don't we? If we know how, it's not always the case if you haven't had that inherited, if you haven't had that experience yourself, people need a bit of help. But if you can have that little bit of help when you need it, particularly in tough areas like mine, yes, early intervention, you know what it is, it's enabling people to love their children and develop their children. And the basis of early intervention for me is very, very simple. It is to give every baby, child and young person the social and emotional capability to realise themselves. If you've got that, you can do anything, barring awful accidents that can happen in families we know. If you haven't got that, then life to a degree is a struggle that it needn't be, because we're all here to help that process along, and we're all here to help people realise their full potential. So that social and emotional bedrock is key for me, yes, to ensure that a child develops full literacy, but also I want to explain in a moment how it's really important because of a whole host of other things around us. Many of the things that go wrong in life. Educational underattainment, not holding down a job, not being able to nurture a family of your own when you grow up from being that baby to being that fully fledged human being. So just to give you a snippet of that, I'd like, with my friend's Sam's help, just to play you a little video. It's only 3 minutes, which sums that up.
What if you could take action to reduce crime, improve health and education levels, increase family incomes, national and local government revenues, and improve the quality of life in communities throughout your area? Where would you begin? Science tells us that we may find the solutions to these complex social problems in early childhood, when the architecture of the brain begins to form. Brain architecture is built over time and shaped by experiences, starting in the earliest years of life. The most important experiences come from the environment of relationships that interact with each child. Parents, extended family, and caregivers of all kinds. But serious adversity early in life can disrupt healthy brain development. Both brain architecture and behavior are increasingly difficult to change as individuals get older, so what happens early matters for a lifetime. Now imagine you can take action to improve the lives of babies, children and young people, as well as the quality of life in this community. Where and when would that action be most effective? The links between policy, parenting and brain architecture become much more clear when we can see how formative events and family and community environments affect child development. For example, policymakers want to make their community safer and healthier, or improve children's learning, or reduce the cost of social problems. A child raised in this environment may experience lower levels of stress and more opportunities for learning. That leads to sturdy brain architecture and a healthy stress response system, which enables the child to build an early foundation for social and emotional skills that lead to improved school achievement and readiness for work, life, and raising great families of their own. Positive early experiences can also reduce levels of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Improved physical and mental health and higher attainment levels can have positive effects across society, like reduced crime, and increased income and tax revenues. Policies affect both individuals and communities, so making wise choices that support early brain development can improve health, behavior, and learning throughout life to give everyone the bedrock to realize their full potential. The Early Intervention Foundation will assess, advocate, and advise on the best early intervention policies and practices. Please visit our website for more information.
So I leave that up because everything the Early Intervention Foundation does, which I have the honour of initiating and creating, is free to it. It's free to you. Go on there tonight. All the comparative policy stuff, what works stuff, is all there for you to look at. So I said I'd mention some of the problems, not by way of any defeatism, but just to give you a sense of what we're tackling in parts of Nottingham where you are at the moment. The key one I often throw out is that my constituency sends the fewest number of kids to university of any constituency in the United Kingdom. We have double the average number of single-parent families. We have double the number of free school meals over the national average. So there's a lot of serious difficulties there. Much of it because we had the heart of manufacturing, as those of us from Nottingham know, knocked out of us with the end of some of our key players, John players, actually, rally bicycles, the mines and textiles. And that's made it that much more difficult. But what we're all doing, everyone in this room, has created an immense set of partnerships that still interlink and still act together to actually try and resolve some of those problems. And that's why literacy is fundamental to what we're trying to do. Literacy is almost a measure of social and emotional capability. So the programme we're all talking about today is actually a litmus test. It is a challenge for all of us to make sure that this works and that it goes to scale across the whole of the city of Nottingham so that absolutely every child can benefit from the programme. So what have we been doing about this? Well, I guess I had a little bit of a disagreement with the leader of my party, and he was then the Prime Minister, Mr. Blair, over the Iraq War, and I found myself off the Christmas card list, and so I found myself with just a little more time to do great things, I hope, in the constituency. And one of the things I did with a number of people in this room was actually set up what we came to call Early Intervention City. It now has a 20-year programme, of which Imagination Library is fundamental. Lots of programmes around this cycle. This is the salute of early interveners, so you must learn this in case you're in the street and meet another early intervener. It means the cycle from being a baby, through school, around to secondary school, through to making a family of your own, and then that family starts again. It is intergenerational. We can't just do the programme that we care most about. You have to take it as a package to develop the whole person over that full intergenerational cycle. It's developing a great cycle rather than a vicious cycle, which obviously is something that we're fighting against as we do these things. Just totally, by the way, right now, one of the things that I'm doing is through a charity in Nottingham North, a number of public health issues, which are very, very important. Making sure that every child has the free dental check, which most people didn't know about. Certainly I didn't until it was pointed out to me. The free eye test for every kid. You can't be a great kid at school if you can't see the whiteboard. You are the disruptive kid. I would be, you would be, you'd be the angry one, unable to see what the heck everybody else was getting really interested in. Also, we're doing, at the other end of the life spectrum, if you like, an MOT. For my American friends, a vehicle check, a regular vehicle check, Ministry of Transport vehicle check on the over 60s throughout our constituency. And finally, we're looking at fetal alcohol syndrome, so that we can encourage mums not to drink during pregnancy, that whole raft of things. So the battle we have, the battle I'm trying to recruit you to, even beyond your own Imagination Library programme, which is sensational, is to join me on the side of good, which is early intervention, against the side of bad, which is late intervention. Late intervention is not very effective. Late intervention is massively expensive. Early intervention is good, well evidence-based, and cheap, and value for money. Why is that important? Well, let me just move on a couple of slides to one which tells you about the number of words that a child hears. Fundamental in reading. Keep going, keep going. You can have all this stuff if it interests you. Keep going. That's our intergenerational problem. It's gone. It's disappeared. No, I don't know what's happened here, but it's disappeared. There's a slide. We can forget about that some. There's a slide which isn't there, which is a very important one, which is about the, no, not even that one. I love this, but don't show people, they'll cry. Which shows you the number of encouraging words that a child has heard in a middle class family, a working class family, and a family on welfare. And it goes down like that. Worse still is the number of discouraging words a child has heard in a middle class family, a working class family, and a family on welfare. That is the key thing about literacy for me. That if the child is almost self-starting, is eager to listen, is eager to learn, is eager to hear those words, the baby, the young person, is hardwired to make you stimulate that child. Evolution has meant that the kids who couldn't do that, the line died out. The kids who could project that, serve and return, and stimulate mum and dad and family, actually are the kids that we want to stimulate, that we want to grow in our community by more and more availability of the written word and of fantastic illustrations of the sort that we saw Nick producing today. So, literacy is a very interesting. Who needs literacy? Yeah, babies do. Maybe mum and dad needs literacy. But you know what the people who need it most? Politicians and decision makers. Because many of them are not literate in our language. and we are teaching them bit by bit to understand the vocabulary of literacy, the vocabulary of social and emotional capability, the vocabulary of early intervention. And I'll just give you one example. I'm going to read you a quote here. You might guess who it's from. The more words children heard, the higher their IQ, and the better they did in school down the track. So mums and dads literally build babies' brains. They serve and we respond. So who was that? Was that Mary Roach? Was that Dr. Frank Ritchie? Was it Graham Allen? It was David Cameron just a few months ago. And I'm not making any party political point here, but people at that level are now getting it. They're understanding that actually that early intervention is good for those kids and good for the rest of society as well. So what I'd like to leave you with is a thought that really comes back to evidence. And what Frank said this morning, and I want to try to sum that up, but in no way as articulately as Frank did today. If we don't have a really strong evidence base, what we've got is an R program, where you and me, it's nice for us, we get a kick out of it, we're doing good work. But if we don't have it solidly evidence-based, which is what we've talked about today, then we're going to miss out on a number of things. If we do have it solidly evidence-based, then that opens up a whole new range of funding possibilities. It means that people believe, as we do, that not only is this programme okay and is really nice for our kids, but actually it really does work. It is measurably good at improving performance and development. That's why evidence is important. Evidence is also important because it opens up a lot of other avenues of funding around things like social impact bonds, around measuring, getting people to invest their money in what we believe in because we know in our hearts it's okay and better than okay. So evidence basing is absolutely fundamental to what we're trying to do today. And I think if I sum up in any shape or form, it is to underline the importance of that. Why is that important to me? Because when I'm finished with you guys here today, I'm going back 1 mile up the road to the poorer part of Nottingham. I'm going to go back to 9 council estates where those kids on those estates deserve just as much chance as the kids in that bad graph where they hear more discouraging words than they hear encouraging words. So I need you to continue the fantastic work that you're doing. It's a privilege to be associated with you. And I'll finish with the phrase that I started with. We are now not alone. There's lots of other people out there who believe in what we're doing. There's lots of other people who want to produce and promote programs like the ones that we are pushing along here in Imagination Library. So you're not alone. You're not just doing this as a little sideshow here. You're part of a big army who wants to raise a great generation of kids in the United Kingdom and elsewhere. Secondly, we are winning because people, even like prime ministers and party leaders, are now talking our vocabulary. Can't understand them most of the time, but they're actually now using our words. The money will follow eventually, should we live long enough. But it's a good start to get them talking in our vocabulary. So, final word from me is, it's been a pleasure. I've been here right from the first word right to the end, and I won't be disappearing without anyone wants to talk to me. But it's been an absolute privilege to be with you today. I have had such fun. If I could bottle this and pour it into the House of Commons, God knows what would happen. But thank you so much for having me along today, and please keep up the great work. Thank you all very much.